This video is about the superglobals in PHP. Superglobals are those objects or arrays that you can access on the computer, access on the server, and this is one of the most important features of PHP because this is where you communicate with PHP. This is where you retrieve or store some temporary data. But let's have a look at those 8 superglobals. We have the $get, the get that we use to communicate, like we use $post to communicate with the server. We have $files we use for uploading, and we have requests, which I will come back to in a moment. Then we have the temporary storage. We have the session where we can leave some data we need to have for the current browser session. Then we have the cookie. We can store some cookies on the user's server or the user's computer. And we have the server where we can get some information about where we are and all that stuff. And then we have the environment, which is the superglobal for the server's environment. And then we have as the 9th superglobal, or a collection of all the superglobals. This is not a superglobal, but it's just a collection of all the superglobals. So let's have a look at them one by one. Get we use when we want to send some data that we are not very careful about secure-wise, because all the parameters, the data will be sent in the URL. Let's have a look at that here. We have this file called get.php. When we preview that in the browser, we'll see that it's just an empty array. We try to print out the get array, but there's nothing in it. Then we can leave a parameter called search, give it a value of PHP. Then we can see, oh, now there's coming some values in our get array. Then we can add another parameter called topic, and we can add a space and then get to the PHP. We can also echo out a specific get parameter or get variable, and in this case we try to echo out the variable search from the parameter in the URL, and in this case we're happy because we have this search parameter. But what happens if we don't have any search parameter in our URL? Nothing will be displayed, of course. So we can check if we want to, if this is a search page, we can check if the get variable search has been set. That means it has value. Then we will echo it out. Otherwise, we will display a message for the user. Please, you should specify a search parameter. So right now we get the message because we don't have any search parameters, but when we put in the search parameter, we get the word get. Let's have a look at post. Post is similar to get, except that all the data is sent invisible or intrinsic. You can also say that it's sent behind the back because we cannot see the data, but it's useful when we want to send some secure data like a contact form, login, or whatever. Let's have a look at some examples here. Here we will make a form, a login form, and the form will post or will send to the page post.php. Use the method of post. We'll send a text input field called username, and I will use the placeholder in the field instead of a label. The placeholder is an HTML5 attribute for inputs. Then we have a password field with the name password. When we specify the type password, we'll only get dots instead of the characters we type in. And then we need a submit button so we can trigger the form and send the form. And the value is of course what is displayed in the button. So let's have a look. In the post PHP, we only print out what is been sent. And here we can log in with the username and a password. And when we click login, we'll have it display the post array from the post PHP. If we don't specify the method posts, the browser will presume that this is a get. So remember, if you want to send something as post, it has to be sent with a method post. As you can see here in the parameter list, now we have all the username and passwords. Oh, that's not nice. And it's of course an empty array we see because we look for what is sent in the post, and in this case we have sent something with the get, so the array will of course be empty. So now we're back with the posts, and we can see now it's displaying our post array. The files Superglobal is of course used when we want to upload files, and it has to be a specific kind of form we use. It looks like the other forms, but we have to have a special encoding. Let's have a look at that. Here we have our files upload HTML page, and then we have a files PHP page. And the method is still post, and the action is of course to go to the files PHP and then get an upload. And then we have the encoding type. It has to be multipart / form data in order to upload files. And then we need to have an input of type file, and this type will give us a possibility to click on a button and then browse our hard drive. And then we need a submit button to begin the upload. So over here we just print out what comes to the files array. Now we have the possibility to choose a file, and I choose a JPEG file and upload it, and then I get this from our files array by printing out what's inside. I would like to echo out something more, or print out something more. I would like to view what's inside this files array, because the files array has the name of my files input field as the first item in the list. So I will make a loop here where I loop through all the attributes of my image, what has been sent. It's easier to read then. And this loop I make here is a loop where I loop through all the image attributes and then separate them as key and value, so I can see what is the key in the array and what is the value of the array. So when I reload this one, or just choose a new file, PNG file, upload this, then I can see the name of the file, the type of the file, the temporary name of it. There's no errors, and I can see the size of it as well. Let's just go back and have a look at what happened here. There we have it. So here we can see the name of the file we sent. We can see that it's a PNG file, and we can see that the server stores this in a temporary place. It hasn't the name of the file, but only the file content is stored in a temporary folder. That means when we have to upload it, we have to move it from this temporary storage to, for example, an upload folder in that's just besides our files.php file. This one is important because if this is different than 0, that means we have some errors we have to take care of. And the size is also important because some servers, or most of servers, has a limit. So we are not allowed to upload, for example, more than 5 megabytes. So we are able to check if the file size is too big, and then give the user a proper message. Let's have a look at the request. Request is a combination of get and post. I don't use it that much because when I send something from a form, I know which kind of method I use. But perhaps you will use it in the future sometime. Let's have a look at how it works. In this case, I made 2 forms and a link. The first form is a post form. The next form is a get form. I send a 2 hidden variable in this hidden input in each of the forms. And in the last one, in the link, I send just the parameter search. This is request. So let's have a look at my page. My request page only print out what comes to me, no matter if it's post or get. I can click on the first one. This one will send a post. I'm hidden in post. And then I can click on this one. This will send get, and you can see it comes up in the URL. The hidden variable. I am hidden in get. Submit is also sent. Everything is sent. Everything is printed out. And when I click the URL, or I click the link, of course I have this also in my URL. This is request. So request does this combination of get and post, and therefore if you don't know how you get your which array you should go and have a look at, you can use request, but I recommend that you use either get or post. The session is where to store some temporary data, and the session is I will go more in detail in another video about login, where I show how the session and the cookie works. But in broad terms, the session works like that. The server creates a session ID and sends this session ID to the user, stores it in a cookie on the user's computer, and the session is automatically destroyed when the user closes a browser window, not only the window but the whole browser. So that means if you want to destroy a session, you have to quit the browser program. Here's an example of how to use the session, or where to start the session, because a session has to be started before we can use it. And if it's not started, you have to start it. If it has been started, don't start it twice. So that's why I'm checking here. If it has not been started, I would like to start the session. But it's not necessarily the right place to do it. You will get this error because you're trying to send a cookie in the header, and when you already had said something like this HTML, then you will get this warning or this error. So please put this up in the top. If you try to do any kind of redirects, or that means also modifying the header, or you try to start a session, send a cookie, then you have to do it as the first thing on the page. So now I'll just quit the browser to demonstrate that the session cookie has been created. So I'll go and on this page, which does nothing according to to sessions, we can see in the inspector that the site has no cookies. And when I go to this session.php, I create a session because I started the session in line 3. Then I can print out the content of the session. And right now it's empty, so it will just show an empty array. And I'll just make some space. And then I will set a session variable. This session variable is called login, and I give it the value true. True is also the same as 1. And down here in my body, I can check if this login has been, if this has a value of true. If it has, I would like to display the message that you are logged in. Else, I display the message, then you have to go and log in, or otherwise I could make a redirect here, but then I have to put it up in the top. But here I can say that of course I'm logged in because the session login variable has been set to true. When I quit, start the browser again, I can see there's no cookies set. And when I go to my session file, I can see I'm logged in, but this is important because the session array is empty at first. It is filled up with the login as soon as I get the response back again. So that's important to remember, that if I want to retrieve something from the session, I have to, of course, set it first and then retrieve it afterwards. The cookie Superglobal is used for retrieving cookies stored on the user's computer. The $_cookie is not used for setting the cookie. If you want to set a cookie or create a cookie, you use the function setCookie, and then you can set the key and a value. And as we saw before, if you use the setCookie, then $cookie is only updated in the next request on the server. Let's have an example. First I will set my cookie. In this case, it will be, for example, a subscription to a newsletter or something like that. And again, don't set any cookie or session or whatever it may be before you send out anything. Or you have to set it before you send out anything. So up in the top, no spaces in front of it. And now we're good to go. Let's have a look. No cookies right now because we haven't reloaded. Oh, now we have a cookie with the name subscribed and the value yes. If we like to print out the cookie array, right now it holds the subscribed cookie. But now when we quit, we open again, you'll see that the array is empty, but the cookie has been set. It's only when we reload the page, do a request again, that our cookie array is updated. And that's important to remember if you try to retrieve those cookie data. And here in our cookie test, we make our variable called subscribed, and then we check if there's a subscriber or not. And we do that by accessing the cookie array. Now we quit again, and then there's no cookie, so we can just get a link to get a subscription. If you go here and make a cookie and go over here and reload this page, we can now see that the cookie subscribed has been made, and of course in the if statement it says that you're a subscriber because we now have a cookie named subscribed. Let's have a look at the server. The server Superglobal holds this array, holds data regarding this site. That means headers, scripts and path that is stored in this Superglobal $_server. And it is used for example, finding out where are we, which page are we on, which IP address is calling or requesting this page. We can use that for finding out in which part of the world the user is located. So let's have an example. In this case, I made a variable called server, and then I run through all the server variables, printing them out as key and value pair. So they come up like this instead of a bunch of values in an array. And I can just print out a few of those, display some of those values from the server array. It could be php_self, which can be used to find out where are we now. And of course, it gives us a path. And if we want to retrieve only this part, we need to split it up and perhaps use the explode function to split this string into entries in an array, and then get the last portion of this array, and then we know where we are. Environment is this Superglobal that tells us about which server environment is PHP running in. Let's have a look at a small example. Again, we just print out the environment variables as key value pair. And in my localhost, I have quite a few variables from the environment array. But if I go to, for example, my hosting at a live web server, I have only a few. So the environment Superglobal will vary, or the content of it will vary, depend on which kind of server it is. And of course, the live servers will contain fewer environment variables according to security and easy setup. Then we have globals. Global is this collection of all the 8 Superglobals together. Let's have a look at that. Usually when we want to have a Superglobal, we use this $_ and then files or environment, server, whatever it may be. But when we want to retrieve something from the globals Superglobal, we have to define the variable inside as something _files, for example. So it would be globals _files will give us the same as $_files. Let's have a look at an example here. First, we print out all the globals, and this is everything. And we can see here that _environment is here. We can grab that and underscore cookie is just down the stream. So if you want to get just a few of them, for example, environment, now we have only that part, and we can just make some space and compare those values from the globals environment with the $_ environment, just to check that we get exactly the same. And we can make a session variable. And print the session array from globals and then print it from session directly. And we can compare those two and exactly the same. So the most important superglobals, because not every superglobal will be used that much. But for most PHP developers, there are 5 approximately superglobals you will use regularly. Get, you will use that for your URLs, your parameters in a URL. Post, you will use a lot. Files, you will use a lot if you upload files. Request, not that much, I hope. Session, perhaps if you make some shopping cart or you make a login section, you will need session. But be aware that not everything should go into session, not large portions of data, because it takes up a lot of RAM, or can take a lot of RAM on the computer, on the server. So it can make the performance go down. So be aware that only put into session what you need to put into session. Cookie, perhaps you will use cookie sometimes. Server, you will use that in some cases. And environment, not that much. And globals, not that much, because you will know where to get your superglobal, which superglobal to go into to find what you need. So all sums up to 5 superglobals you should know by heart, and the rest you should know when to use them.